I absolutely must cover this story because it could end up being one of the biggest stories, at least for me and many of you, to come along in quite some time. Mark Hamill, this is from Variety. Mark Hamill, who has played Luke Skywalker since 1977's Star Wars, the first Star Wars film, and played him all the way through until just a couple years ago, where we saw him on Book of Boba Fett, says Star Wars doesn't need Luke Skywalker anymore. I just don't see any reason to play him again. Now, this is coming off of the announcement that we saw of new Star Wars movies at Celebration, including the Rey movie, or the movie that takes place 10 years after, Rey vanquished Palpatine. I hate having to say that, but it's true. Where Luke could have easily appeared as a Force ghost. And not just that, but the heavily rumored and now official Dave Filoni movie, which is supposed to wrap up the live action Disney Plus saga, which included Luke Skywalker. Me and Den of Nerds did a whole video where we talked about the possibilities there with Luke and using CG to maybe do reverse aging for Harrison Ford and, bring in Din Djarin, sort of have all of these Disney Plus, TV characters like the Rebels, from Star Wars Rebels, Ahsoka, have it be this big sort of Avengers level event for Star Wars and have everybody come together. If Mark Hamill's not there, man, that's going to really feel weird. Especially since we know that, at least in the original Thrawn books, that Luke had a hand in defeating Thrawn. So, wouldn't it make sense if he had a hand in defeating him now, since they're borrowing those ideas anyways? Let's get into this real quick. Mark Hamill says Mark Hamill's days as Luke Skywalker are basically over. During an interview on CBS News Sunday morning, I heard about this, by the way, and I didn't get to see it yet. The Star Wars icon said the franchise no longer needs the hero who helped make it a worldwide phenomenon. Now, this could obviously be Mark Hamill feeling bummed out. I want to let everybody know this does not necessarily mean he won't be Luke Skywalker anymore. Because if they call him and they offer him something good, he might just take it. Does not mean he'll never play him again. But he definitely feels disenfranchised. And he's felt this way really since... He's felt this way since Last Jedi. He goes on to say, well, you never say never, but I just don't see any reason to, Hamill said about reprising the role of Luke Skywalker. Let me put it that way. I mean, I have so many stories to tell. They don't need Luke anymore. No, they have so many stories to tell. They don't need Luke anymore. I had my time, and that's good, but that's enough. Hamill was the face of George Lucas's original Star Wars trilogy, along with, we know all that. I'm sure you guys know all that. The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett with the motion capture. That we know. When I read the Last Jedi script, I said, okay, well, that's it for me. Hamill recently told Esquire magazine, and you start the process of disengaging from something that's been a part of your life. This does go all the way back to Last Jedi. Mark did not like the way Luke was played. That's why he referred to it as Jake Skywalker, because the character that Brian Johnson wrote for him in that movie just wasn't what Luke envisioned, or wasn't what Mark, the same guy. It wasn't what Mark envisioned for Luke Skywalker. Well, not literally, but it wasn't what Mark Hamill envisioned for Luke Skywalker, and neither did the rest of us, including me. Luke is my favorite Star Wars character, so having that writing, I'm not even going to go back to trashing that movie, because that movie's been trashed more than any movie on YouTube, maybe. It's definitely up there, because so many Star Wars fans, lifelong fans, felt let down by it. Hamill came back for The Mandalorian because he was very impressed with it, but he admits seeing the final result of his face being de-aged was unusual. I can understand him thinking that, because it is unusual. Just imagine you record something and then they make you look younger and it looks a little weird because the technology's not quite there yet, I get it. Lucasfilm could theoretically keep making Star Wars projects featuring Luke with de-aging Hamill, but the actor seems to be ruling that out. Well, we want his voice in, people say, oh, now you're going to be able to do a whole series of Luke post Return of the Jedi. I said, I don't think so, Hamill told Esquire. First of all, they don't need to tell those stories, but if they do, they could get a age appropriate. They can get an age appropriate actor. Yeah, but now they can't do that because they've already done the de-aging of Mark Hamill. So if they were to cast somebody who's appropriate with his age, it would be weird that he looks a certain type of way in The Mandalorian and in Book of Boba Fett, and then all of a sudden looks a different way with a different actor. That's weird. Hamill certainly read when he says Star Wars has so many other stories to tell, and the franchise is currently doing so in television projects and films. The franchise will launch Ahsoka, The Acolyte, and Skeleton Crew on Disney+, while new films include a Daisy Ridley starring Rey sequel and a James Mangold directed prequel about the First Jedi. They don't need Luke for the Mangold prequel. And they really don't have to have Luke in the Daisy Ridley project. But man, having him at least not appear, even if it's just in a couple scenes in the Filoni movie, that's a big letdown. And I really hope that Filoni and Favreau and Lucasfilm as a whole can get him to change his mind and at least come back for that. Even if Hamill's decade-long tenure of playing Luke is over, he'll forever be tied to Star Wars franchise. And then here's the full interview. So, yeah, I mean, he's Luke Skywalker. He's never gonna not be Luke Skywalker. It's just The Last Jedi really bothered him. It really did, and it bothered a lot of people. And in his case, though, it feels like maybe he never got over it. You know, I think a lot of fans have moved on from Last Jedi. I think a lot of fans have been able to enjoy the Disney Plus stuff. Some fans have not. I know a lot of fans who still are pissed off about it. I mean, when I think about the potential of what could have been, it does irritate me. Like it really, honestly, truly does. But I understand how Mark Hamill feels. But if Filoni can give him that one last day in the sun, de-aging him, and doing it right with better deepfake technology, but giving him his last stand in that movie where he is a pivotal force against Thrawn, I think that maybe Hamill would come back for that. Because Hamill seems like a very chill guy, you know what I mean? Based on the way his interviews are. But he's very emotionally connected to Luke Skywalker. So I think if he's offered that, I do think he'll come back for it. And I certainly hope they do give him an important role. Even if he's not the main character in that movie, he needs to have an important role. Because if then Luke can have a great moment, do something awesome that all the fans want to see, everyone wins. Lucasfilm will win because fans will go see the movie multiple times. Filoni wins, the fans win, and ultimately Mark Hamill wins. This is one of those times where I really hope that for once, well, wouldn't be the only good decision, but one of the few, that Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm can do whatever they can to bring him back, to seduce him back for at least that project. But I think Filoni would be the guy to do that, and we'll see if he does. Anyways, y'all, that's it. Take care. Let me know what you think. I don't think he's done. But we'll see.